released in 1989 by Maxis. The wiki seems to think this is the second Maxis game. I'm calling bullshit on this one. They claim Raid on Bungling Bay as the first Maxis game. That's bullshit. That was released way before Maxis was a thing. Though SimCity is based off of Raid on Bungling Bay. Originally for the Commodore 64, Will Wright used a map editor for Raid on Bungling Bay to create what would become the first version of SimCity on the Commodore 64. However, that was never used, at least originally. Although SimCity was made in 1985 for the Commodore 64, it did not see the light of day until after 1989, when SimCity had become a success on the Amiga and other machines, and then they re-released the Commodore 64 version, which should have been redone completely, but it was still very based on Raid on Bungling Bay and was terrible looking. It could have done better. That's sad. Here we have the Amiga version. This is version 1.3 on the Amiga, which uses the extra half-bright mode. 64 colors on the Amiga, 32 chosen colors, and then another 32 added. That is half as bright as the first 32. There are not a great deal of games that use that mode, unfortunately, but it makes it look pretty. It's got to be the best looking computer version. I guess maybe the Super Nintendo version might give it a run for its money, but they both look very great. Those two especially. And there is another version on the Amiga. I think it was the first version, 512K version. This is, you have to have the 1 megabyte RAM to run this version, the 64 color version. From what I've read from non-Wikipedia sources, because you can't trust Wikipedia on most of these finer details, SimCity, the 512K version, was actually the first version ever released from Maxis, published from Maxis, besides the Commodore 64 version, which I don't think ever saw a release until these other ones became popular. But yes, we have the Amiga to thank for SimCity. First version, I believe. Although I'm not a particular fan of the original Amiga version of SimCity because it looks a lot uglier than this version. I mean, it's not bad looking. It probably looks better than DOS or any of the other computer ports. But it's only 16 colors, and this is 64 colors. That's hard to compete with. But I will show that version at the end of this video, and that's the version you mostly see of this online, which I have issues with. I can recall a certain, to be unnamed YouTuber that used SimCity on the Amiga as an excuse as to why European games are the only good things on the Amiga. That's the only thing I want are the European games. That's why I couldn't have an NTSC system. I had to get a PAL system. It's like, oh, you're crazy, man. This is an NTSC game. Of course it is. Definitely made in the USA on the Amiga. Most definitely. And it was, and the 1 megabyte version, the version 1.3, was sold in primarily America, I believe. I believe the 512K version was primarily sold overseas because they had less of the 1 megabyte expansions. So eat your heart out, Mr. YouTuber that I will not name, who thinks that European games are the only thing good on the Amiga. You're crazy. He even showed the box for the European box, the 512K version, which is a very small box. It's kind of cool looking, but it's not at all what they sold on stores. I can remember as a kid seeing this version, the original SimCity, in a big box. Just like all American games, came in a big box, even on the Amiga. And it was on the back of the box, it showed, the 64 color version. So I don't know, I'm not sure if the 512K version was even sold here. I'm guessing it probably was, because it was probably designed here too. But I remember seeing the 64 color version always on the back of the box. And I remember the SimCity Classic version was also sold on the Amiga, and again, 64 color version. But he never even showed the 64 color version of SimCity. A lot of people have no idea this one exists for some reason, even though I'm pretty sure this was the one that would have sold the most, would have been shown the most. But what comes first on those lovely legal websites we all go to? Yeah, what comes first? Well, version 1.0 probably comes first before version 1.3, and everybody gets those versions. And they just click on it because that's the first one that comes up. Well, you shouldn't. Not for this one. Click version 1.3. That's the one you want. That's the pretty one. And yes, this is an NTSC American game that is meant to be played in 4x3 mode. Squared. I don't go into great detail about that in this. I will show one little thing at the very end of the video about that, but I'm not going to get into huge detail about it this time. Just trust me, it's most definitely a 4x3 NTSC game. So this is a huge game. Everybody knows what SimCity is. How do I talk about a game like this? This is a huge game. How do I talk about a game like this? I'm not going to go into the details about it. I'm not going to go into game mechanics and tell you what everything is. You people should know what SimCity is. And that kind of insults me when I see YouTube videos that go into game mechanics on games that everybody should know about. And if you don't know, I don't care to explain it to you. You know, you should know about SimCity. You should know what those little, icons on the right are. If you don't know what a road symbol is, if you don't know what a railroad symbol is or an airplane symbol is, then this is not the channel for you. But what I want to talk about mostly is this game and what it meant to me as a kid, what it means to me now. I used to watch my father play this game all the time, and I can remember him. This game kind of runs, the simulation aspect of it runs a little bit slow in terms of, like, you can set the game speed, and if you set the game speed to the fastest mode, and it primarily actually is an issue with the this version of on the Amiga, the 1.3 with the 64 colors. That would be the prime side effect of having 64 colors, is it runs a little slower. Everything else runs fine, like it scrolls fine, everything, the menus come up fine, everything comes up fine, but the simulation aspect of it, when you hit the fastest part, is not as fast as other versions of the game, or even the 16 color Amiga version. They all go faster. I'd say within maybe 10 minutes you'd have a year go by on the other versions, and it's probably closer to 20 minutes on this version. Anyway, I remember my father, we had a little exercise bike in the basement of our townhouse, and that's where the Amiga was, and there was a fish tank down there, and right next to the fish tank and by the Amiga was a little bicycle kind of thing, an exercise bike, a little mechanical exercise bike, and he'd go, because you wouldn't have enough money or whatever, and you'd be sitting there waiting forever, to get more money. You'd have like $30. You couldn't build anything, so you have to, several years would have to pass in order to get taxes to be able to build anything. So he would do what he had to do on the simulation aspect, and he would get up and he would go onto the bike, and he would just exercise on the bike for 20 minutes until the budget window came up, and then he would look at it, and then he would with the extra money that he had now, he would work on a couple more things, and then before you know it, he was back on the bike again. And yeah, that's my biggest memory of SimCity back in the day, was my dad playing it and getting back on the bike. And yeah, I'm doing this video for my dad. I'm also doing this because it was a request. The request came about 3 months ago, so it's about time I got to it, and it was a request by one of my subscribers, R16815. He does have a few videos if you want to check them out. No commentary, though. I wish he did some commentary. But if you guys like the videos without commentary, maybe you should check them out. So I will link him in the description, or right here. Anyway, when he requested it, I wasn't sure. I knew I wanted to cover this at some point in time. There are a lot of games I want to cover at some point in time. But I was really unsure about how to do these games that everybody already knew about. And this is a big one. Everybody should know about SimCity. How am I supposed to review this game? I did not want it to be like everybody else who tries to explain game mechanics. Like, I cannot, for the life of me, unless it's something that most people wouldn't understand. Unless there's something about it, in particular, something I know that would help. I'm not going to tell you about it. But, you know what, it's about time I do some, videos of some big games, because I played a lot of big games, just like everybody else. And, I gotta do it in my own way, and my own way is to tell you about some stories. And I got another story for you guys. When I was a kid, and let's see, I wouldn't have been much more than about 10, maybe. Probably would have, maybe even less. But I would say it was around 1995-ish or something, and I was in school, and at school, for a little while, I went to like this before-school program, and sometimes after school too. Depended on whether or not I had a babysitter or whatever for that time period. But we went to this place, and we go there, and this place had it was held inside of the gym/cafeteria area, or on the stage, the orchestra stage. And they had a computer back there, and it was an older computer, and it was a DOS era computer. And somebody put SimCity up on there, and and I remember seeing it, and this is how I'm always am. I note things as a kid. I never take control of things ever unless somebody's really screwing up. I just don't take control. I prefer to be in the background. But when I see things, I note it or whatever. And they had SimCity up, and people who were doing pretty badly at it. Honestly, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And I just noticed it or whatever. And when everybody had left later on, I think the next day I came on, and then I loaded it up myself. And, yeah, I started doing it. And I never played that DOS version before, but that was the first time I played it. And I already knew everything about it because I played the Amiga version. And, yeah, before you know it, I had, houses, and I had commercial buildings and everything. And the teacher, I don't think it was a real teacher, but it was somebody that was hired or whatever to take care of the kids, comes up and she's like, "Oh my God, you know how to play this? Can you show everybody else how to play it?" And so I think the next day she brought everybody around me so I could show them how to play this game correctly. And yeah, that was an amazing story for me. Traditionally that's how things go with me. Is I happen to, everybody else, screws up something, and then I have to go, okay, I'll show you how to do it. Otherwise, if somebody does know how to do it, they'd never understand I knew how to do it because I would never let them know. That's the kind of person I am. I remember in this one computer class I had great teacher, Mr. Holder, I think his name was. Great teacher, and his dad had died on him early on in his life too, and I remember that was a comforting thing or whatever. He actually came to me when my dad had died. My dad died when I was a freshman in high school, and he came up to me, and somebody had told him about it, and he told me about his dad and everything, and that was very, he was always one of my favorite teachers. Before that even, though, but especially after that, he became a very close teacher to me. And teachers can mean all the difference. They can be the worst thing ever. If you get a bad one, you can hate them with all of your guts, and they could really fuck you up for life. Or they could do the exact opposite, and they could just inspire you to endless ends. And yeah, Mr. Holder, he one day I was in his computer class, and I think we were taking apart some DOS computers, and we had them all, he had them all, they were all donated, and he had them all on the counter or something, and there's this one in particular that would not boot up or something, and something that would beep, kept beeping like crazy or something, and he actually, he knew I was into computers or whatever, and he knew I had an Amiga back in the day. He knew all this stuff about me, but he actually made he asked if anybody could help him, with this particular computer, and of course, I'm not going to say anything. That's not who I am. And of course, there are, the traditional people who are arrogant or whatever, and their first thing is, anytime anybody asks them, they put their hand up or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person, but there are bad people in that category. But, anyways, there's a couple of them that said, "Oh, of course, we can do it, of course," or whatever, and they went up there, and I paid no attention to him, and 30 minutes later, he comes up to me, he's like, "You think you could look at this thing?" And I did, I went up there or whatever, and I booted it up, and I'm like, yeah, I think I know what the problem is, and I think, what the problem was, they thought there was a hard drive, they thought, the computer experts there, thought the hard drive was blown or something, it's like, no, the hard drive's fine, you need to partition the hard drive or whatever, but they didn't have the disk or whatever, so I was like, I got the DOS disk or whatever, that will, F-disk is the program. It's like, I'll bring it in tomorrow and we can do this or whatever, so I brought it in the next day. ran fdisk, I partitioned it or whatever, and that's all you needed to do. And then we installed the operating system onto it. Ha! Got you guys. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. Originally, I started you off on I created a new continent. I called it Pangea because it was all, you know, right there. I gotta say, what I love most about the original SimCity compared to all the rest of them, and I played them all till 4. I played 4 or whatever. I never got into the new one or whatever. But what I love most about the original was the random map generator. It was the best out of all of them. SimCity 2000 had the worst. SimCity 2000 had a god-awful random map generator. I hated it. Terrible. And 3 was okay, but yeah, the first one was always the best. It's always had, you know, all you had to do is say randomly generate new map a couple times or whatever, and you found something that, you know, sparked your interest. And yeah, that's why I chose that Pangea one. That one was interesting to me. There's always something new about the original SimCity random map generators compared to the newer ones, especially the second. SimCity 2000, worst random map generator ever. And anyway, now we are showing ChrisVille, which is Chris is my real name. I think I told you my initials once in one of the videos or whatever. I was like CS or whatever. That was my initials. I wasn't going to tell you my name or whatever, but it's hard to avoid it when my city's name is ChrisVille, unless I want to blur it out the entire time, which would look ridiculous. I don't care if you know my name, but yeah, it is Chris. My name is Chris, but I prefer Shot, though, for the internet's sakes. It's been Shot forever, but yeah, ChrisVille has always been the name for the cities. And as you see, I try to make realistic-ish kind of cities. I don't like... You watch SimCity Online and the pros or whatever, they will actually bulldoze part of the residential, and they'll put another residential onto it. It's because as long as you don't hit the middle of a residential, you can actually put another residential on it. They'll try to min-max or whatever the hell you call it. They'll try to max out the population as much as you can by making these ridiculous, nonsensical looking cities. But I always had the most fun being creative, and because I can't draw, I'm not an artist in the hand sense or whatever. I create my art through other means, and part of it is to make, you know, what is to me a beautiful looking city. And this is ChrisVille, and I've been working on this one on the Amiga forever, and I wish I had the old cities I did forever ago. I made so many cities in SimCity, both as a kid and even grown up, or a little bit, you know, as a teenager when I became, you know, into the emulators. I made I probably do have some of the emulator shit if I actually did take a look at it. Maybe some other day I will attempt to dig out my emulator stuff and see if I have any SimCities saved from then. But anyway, that's what I like to do, is make them pretty or whatever. Now we're taking ravage on my city. Another great thing about being able to save the city is that you can, at any time, unleash your wrath upon it. And we saw Godzilla before. Godzilla was actually on the original box of SimCity. And they changed it eventually. But I think I had the Godzilla one. And here's a tornado. Beautiful 64 colors. Oh, it really does look so nice on the Amiga. Oh, fantastically. Anyways, that fizzles out. I'm going to take you to something else. I'm going to take you to the scenarios, which they feature a whole bunch of them, ranging from nuclear meltdowns to boredom to earthquakes or whatever. You know, we're going to go to my home city, Detroit, which is, of course, crime. By 1970, competition from overseas and other economic factors pushed the once automobile capital of the world into recession, plummeted land values and unemployment. That increased crime in the inner city to chronic levels. You have 10 years to reduce crime. Yes. This is the scenarios, and if you can complete what it tells you to do within 10 years, or whatever it says, you get the key to the city, which is fun to have. Now, unfortunately, which I did not remember for this particular period, is you will not get the key to the city unless you do it all in one go. At least on this version of you can't save it. If you save it and you come back later, which I did, it will not keep track of it for you. It'll just think it's Detroit. But yes, this is the easiest one, actually. All you have to do is look on the graph map and see where the crime is. Take a bulldozer to a bunch of areas and Put some cops there. Simple. If only it was that simple in real life. And also, it wants you to increase the factories or whatever. So just take the taxes down and throw in a bunch of industrial zones over in the area. And I wanted to show you. This is actually a very nice representation of Detroit. That's Belle Isle right there. That's my favorite place in the entire world. Now, Belle Isle doesn't actually have a stadium on it. That part's not true. I mean, it is an event area. There's lots of things held there. So I guess that's why they put it there or whatever. It's like to get people on the island, which there's nothing else there. But yes, it actually is a very nice representation of the city. That's the Detroit River. I don't know about if, you know, those empty areas there where just suddenly there's no more Detroit. Like that doesn't exist. This map should be filled to the brim with something, whether even if they're destruction, even if they're abandoned or demolished or whatever. Every single inch of that map should be filled. That would be Detroit. There's no empty parts of Detroit. Maybe today, maybe there's some like land reclaiming now. We're reclaiming the land and we're growing farms on it. Yes, but yes, this is fairly accurate. The airport was in about what I would say is accurate. That's the Ambassador Bridge to Canada. But the whole area that you see on the southeast area, or whatever, that's actually Windsor. That's Windsor, Ontario. That's not actually Detroit at all. That's another country. That's Canada. And it's not facing the right direction. What you see as in north and south, that's not correct. Whereas Canada is directly south or whatever. Think of it and tilt it. Tilt it to the southeast, you know. North should be northwest and south should be southeast. That is actually how it is in real life or whatever, but I can understand how SimCity might not have been able to do that at the time. But here it is in 1982 as I've rebuilt it all and I've made Windsor into what it should be, is nothing but the dumping grounds for America. Get rid of all our crap. I actually got rid of a lot of industrial areas in Detroit, and I just put them into Windsor. Why not? If that's gonna be officially part of Detroit now, why not just put all the crap in Windsor? Why not put my nuclear power plants into Windsor? Windsor can have it, but because it's 1982 already, and we did not get the key to the city, unfortunately, I couldn't show you that. I actually put some shit onto Belle Isle, which I would never, ever in a million years do, because I love that. It's a sacred place to me. But for the sake of the game, I put some areas onto Belle Isle because it's apparently has high land value. So we have completely restored Detroit, but unfortunately we will not get the key to the city because I saved it. But I'll show you some other things that are cool about it. I don't know how cool it is, but they had other discs for SimCity that you could buy, and this is a little terrain pack. I don't know what you would call it exactly, but here we have Detroit in medieval times. This is medieval times. Yes, if you ever wondered what Detroit would look like in the Middle Ages, which we were not a part of, maybe maybe some Native Americans back then, but no, Europeans not a part of Detroit back then. That's too far in the past there. But the thing I don't like about these packs is they all look the same. There seems to be less different variations of the buildings, tiers of the buildings, and they all end up looking exactly the same. But it is kind of, fun. The roads will be dirt. Instead of power lines, you use aqueducts. The sounds might even be different. Instead of like heavy traffic car noises or something, helicopter noises, you'll have horse noises. The airport is a castle, and there's a dragon flying. That is perfect. I love that. Yeah, the airport. It's a castle. Just build a castle, have some dragons fly out of it. Yes. Beautiful. Anyway, now it's time to check out the Asian motif, which is pretty much the same. It's like, okay, just get rid of the power lines, use aqueducts, and to make everything farmland. Yes, lots and lots of farmland as far as the eye can see. And again, it all looks the same. I don't know if I could handle looking at that. Just everything looking exactly the same. I've never played any of these things. It's a curiosity. It's nice to play your city in normal mode and go to these other modes and see what they would look like. I would say Future Europe looks the coolest out of them all. I do kind of like the way this one looks. Everything does, yeah, they seem to have a little bit more variations on the different types. Yes, I do believe that is the case. So I could handle starting a city in the futuristic Europe mode again, but I'd say overall, it's not too interesting. This is just a cash grab. This is a Maxis, by the way. This is before EA took it over. So it is very interesting to note that long before EA had any say in the matter, Maxis was already trying to grab your money for all. And of course they were. SimCity Classic was a huge deal. They sold SimCity Classic forever. The same version, just repackaged as Classic. Well, even after SimCity 2000 came out, it's like SimCity Classic. You know, you can always go back and buy the original for not that much cheaper. So don't tell me Maxis was much greater than EA when it came to selling out. They were huge sellouts. Sim this, sim that, sim everything. You know, they, of course, you know, they made some great games, some great sim games, but ethically speaking, they are not too much better. Them and EA were a perfect match, I have to say. Ethically speaking, they were a perfect match. Here's the Wild West version. I like this version, actually. Again, this is another one which the variation is okay, so won't strain your eyes too much. And has nice clinking of the horse hooves when the streets get too crowded. And you know, also the graphs change too. The graphics too. You notice crime. It had a little different symbol. It had like a little gun and a little sheriff symbol, I think. So yeah, this one's all right. Moon Colony. This is the weirdest one. I don't. Yeah, this one is just too gray for me. I couldn't handle this one. I just cannot. I enjoyed Civilization. Civilization 2 had this scenario, if you bought the scenario pack, where you were on Mars and everything would be red or whatever. And I enjoyed the Mars scenario for Civilization 2, but no, I can't handle the graphics here. It's just too gray. So I guess, yeah, the sea is actually the well, the moon technically does have seas, or whatever they call them, seas anyway, but the very deep craters or whatever they call that, the sea or whatever, but very dark areas of the moon. So I guess there was some kind of a rover there. And here's the terrain editor, and it was on the Amiga too, yeah. They'll only show it to you on the DOS or whatever, but you know, it was on the Amiga. Of course it was. And yeah, you didn't have that many options for it though. You could not, unlike SimCity 2000 and later, you can't place buildings or anything. You can just mess with the maps, which I guess this would be the perfect place to generate your new map, so you can make some final changes on it. And yeah, those little anchor signs. I guess that's the path that the boat takes. I don't know. I've been trying to mess with mine forever, trying to get it to take a better path because it keeps crashing into shit. And I hate my frickin' boat always crashes into crap. I hate that. So I've been trying to mess with mine, and sometimes I mess with it so bad it doesn't even appear at all. So one of these days I'll get it right. But yeah, channel is the one which puts the anchor there, and I guess that's the path that your boat will take once you get there. You can put trees down, you can put dirt down, you can put the river down, or whatever. Yeah, I don't think I could design one myself, but it would be a cool area to just mess with your already newly generated map and make that into something you might enjoy more. But it's too bad you can't put buildings on there too, I guess. Yeah, it looks, yeah, it's a handy thing to have or whatever. Again, you'll need a separate disk. You'll need to, you know, scroll down a little more after version 1.0 and version 1.3. Scroll down a little more so you can find that. So yeah, you can even load up your new city, your already made cities. Here's ChrisVille. Again, I load that up so I can mess with my the way my boat comes in, which doesn't seem to help me too much because he always crashed by that bridge there. He would always crash into the bridge, and I hated it. So I try to tweak it a little bit, but it doesn't. I don't know how much it's working out for me. Okay, so that's the terrain editor, version 1.0. Yes. Enough of that crap. Included with the terrain editor is some more cities there, pre-save cities that they put there. Here's New York, which is an empty New York. But, basically gives you the basic idea. Again, it's not oriented in the correct location. It's not facing the correct directions, I don't believe. Gotham City, I don't know what this one's about. Does this... Any Batman fans, does this resemble Gotham City to you? I don't... Looks ridiculous to me, but, I'm not a huge fan. My Batman, knowledge is of the original 1960s television series, which I loved, and the first two Batman movies with Michael Keaton. Did watch the Val Kilmer and George Clooney ones. Oh god, but that turned me off. Never again. I realize everybody loves the current incarnation of Batman or whatever, but I think it's time for a return to the 60s comedy aspect of it. I would love... It's time. I know you can kind of say the George Clooney one was kind of in that vein, because he had Schwarzenegger there and everything, but I don't think so. It was not... It was still dark oriented. I want a campy Batman, pure camp. Anyway, but oh, I guess I don't know. Then you remember Jim Carrey. Oh God, Jim Carrey. Oh, I guess never mind. I rescind what I said previously. I don't want a campy version anymore. But here's the original SimCity on the Amiga, the 512K version, which is the only one you see online these days. With the 16-color version. Here's Detroit. Same thing. The title screen looks exactly the same, but here it is, and yes, it's actually faster. It scrolls faster. It's not the other version's not bad scrolling, but you will notice that it will go from January to the next month a lot quicker than it would in the 1.3 64 color version. But it is definitely uglier. Even the sides they're all gray. I don't particularly like that. And it kind of is more emulated towards the Commodore 64 right on Bungling Bay version there. But it's not bad looking at all for 16 colors. It looks fine. It probably still is. Even keeping in mind it only has 16 colors, it's probably the best looking PC version out there. I know the Macintosh had probably higher resolutions. I know DOS version had higher resolutions too you could have, but this one's still probably... This is not a game that really offers that much more in terms of high resolution. I guess you could see a little bit more area, but yeah, this one's okay in the zoomed down 320 by 200 version. I think I prefer it zoomed. Anyway, here's the city forms area, the graphs, and it's all on one screen. It comes on top of the screen instead of being on its own screen like in the 64 color version. But you get the same basic thing or whatever. But my deal is why do they only show this version online? Why, when you look at the Amiga, you look up Amiga SimCity, and this is the version you see. And the load screen goes to Workbench instead. And oh yeah, earthquake. This is what happens when you don't answer the copyright protection thing or whatever. It's constant earthquakes over. But here's ChrisVille in 16 colors. Doesn't look bad by any means, but I would say I prefer the 64 color, and there just aren't that many extra half-bright mode games for the Amiga, so when you find them, use them. They're great. There's only a few of them, so definitely stick a middle finger up at YouTube, and that seems to think that the only version that exists is this 16 color version, and just do a tiny bit more research and look up 1.3. I don't want to get into it too much for this video, but on the left there, that's the NTSC version. On the right, that is PAL version. The icon on the left resembles a disc much more than the icon on the right, which is stretched. And that's all I have to say about it. Again, this is an NTSC game. Play it in NTSC mode, please. I took a couple screenshots on the actual Amiga itself, using a program on the Amiga, to demonstrate that the thing is in 16 color extra half bright mode. Here's the original 512K version, which shows on the palette on the bottom right there 16 colors only. And the only reason I'm actually showing this is because a lot of assholes on the internet will never believe you. It's like, oh, check the take a screenshot or whatever. It doesn't, I guarantee it doesn't have 64 colors. No games has 64 colors. Blah, 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 blah. Bunch of assholes on the internet, I swear to God. This is just to shut those motherfuckers up. And they won't believe you because, you take a screenshot from an emulator or whatever, that's different. That's a different process. If you take a screenshot from an emulator, it's not catching, the original palette. It's, catching all the different little things, it's not the same as taking a screenshot from the actual thing. Anyway, here it is from the actual machine itself. 64 colors, as you see in the palette, bottom right there. That is 64 colors. Booyah! I'm right. This is not towards any of my subscribers or anything. It's just like you'll watch some forums, and that's what you see. Even though the title screen is in 32 colors, even though it looks exactly the same as the 16 color version, it has like 10 shades of red for some reason. Anyway, that's SimCity, guys. I hope you loved it. I'm okay. So that was SimCity, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope I showed it to you in a way that was unique, because it's everywhere. It's one of those games that's everywhere, and I want to do games, that everybody knows, but I don't know how to approach them. I want to do Sonic the Hedgehog. I want to do Mario, but there is no way in hell I'm going to sit there and tell you what the B button does, what the A button does, what the fire button does, what the icons do, how to build a successful city in SimCity. It's like, God, it is just ridiculous. It's everywhere. You got to do it in your own unique way. I can't stand the videos that talk to me as if I'm some dumbass. I'm sure there's a reason to do that in 20 years or 30 years when these games are completely unrecognizable to people, but you're insulting even younger people's intelligence, I think, when you try to do SimCity or Sonic the Hedgehog and try to explain game mechanics. Don't explain game mechanics to very popular games. If it's a game probably nobody's ever heard of, then I understand. Explain those mechanics to them. But SimCity, no. I hope you enjoyed my unique perspective, which was to talk about my father and this very machine that I was talking about when he went in the basement, and when he did the budget things or whatever, and he would wait until the next year came so he'd get more money. He went to this very machine, which is a piece of shit. It used to have like digital controls, and I can't even make this thing resist anymore. It's broke, but I kept it anyway. This is the very same one, and I never use it anyway because it doesn't even work. It's too easy. It doesn't work. I can't adjust it anymore. I gotta fix it. Maybe I can fix it. I don't know. Anyway, SimCity. This one was for my dad, my father, who died 2001. He was 45 years old, very soon, very suddenly, and he was in good shape or whatever. And it was a heart attack. Anyway, and he was supposed to go to the doctor that day too, and whatever. Shit happens. Anyway, I love my dad, and he was the one that got me into the computers. He had the Commodore 64 originally. He had the Amiga. He got DOS, Windows 95 when it came out. He wasn't actually impressed with DOS. He held on to the Amiga until Windows 95 came out, because that was more like the Amiga than DOS was. And he fucked around in DOS or whatever when he had to. But yes, he was the man of technology. He always wanted the next best thing. And I hope my unique perspective there added something to the SimCity experience, which has been talked about at length, ad nauseum. So I hope that was something unique. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to check out some more videos, please. I hope you will check out the last video where I talk about my dad a little bit more, and I toast him with some Faygo pop from Detroit, Michigan, where I'm from. And yes, I talk about him at length, talk about him, computers and everything, and show some pictures from back in the day of him on the Amiga and him on the computer and me, too. But yes, I hope you'll check that out. I hope you check out the Super 8 film, which he made from the 1970s. I restored that one for him, and I hope you'll check that out. That's him shooting it in the apartment that he had at the time. And if you want to know, what it was like to be a 70s person back then, like they did the same shit that we do. It's like they take the camera and they look at their cats or whatever, do weird shit. Take pictures of their feet, you know, weird shit that we have not gotten away from in all these years. So even with our iPhones or whatever, it's not the same. Only the clothes are different. That's just what I call it. So I hope you'll check those out. I got some request videos, and this was also a requested video, so thank you for the request. Can't remember the name. It's R16 something. I don't know. I already said it, but I'll link it. If you want to check out his channel, go check it out. As I previously requested, you know, people asked me for some requests in the last video. I thought I should start with the last request I got. Anyway, I did one request before, and that was Wheel of Fortune from Neanu 9. I haven't seen Neanu 9 for a while. She's out there still. Really love her channel, but I got some more stuff. I got Might Magic 3, the original Might Magic 3 on the Amiga, which is not, you know, most people don't think of it on the Amiga. They think of it on DOS. But I checked out the Amiga version for this review, and that's coming up very soon. I also did a request video for Brian Davis, so I forgot what the hell it's called. Historical, I don't know, something like that. It's a ripoff of Dino Eggs from the Commodore 64. It's a direct ripoff. You can't get any more blatant than this one. But it's actually fun, and that one's going to come out pretty soon too. And I don't know, I think I got Tamagotchi coming out soon. Review of the Tamagotchi toy. I don't know, I got a bunch of stuff. If I can get it all edited and stuff. Might Magic 3 should come out very soon though, and so I think I'll put out the Brian Davis one sooner though. Yeah, got some stuff coming out for you guys. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you'll subscribe if you liked any of the stuff. Like, comment, whatever. See ya.